All right, happy Monday, everyone. So, before we get into our usual bad news that I unfortunately have to bring to you on a weekly basis, we are going to look at a little sliver of hope. And this comes from the recent rallies from Bernie Sanders and AOC. So, we're going to get into an article from the NPR about they're drawing record crowds. Wait till you see the numbers in comparison to what they were when Bernie Sanders was actually running for president in 2016 and 2020, at any point at the peak of his popularity. And we're also just going to watch a couple clips from some of those rallies from Bernie and AOC. And another reason, so on top of all that, the movement that they are creating aligns perfectly with what the American people want. And I have a study poll, whatever you want to call it, from I think Pew Research Center that we're going to look at as well. So, starting with the NPR, Bernie Sanders is drawing record crowds as he pushes Democrats to fight oligarchy. Senator Bernie Sanders has emerged as a leading voice for voters opposed to President Trump's rapid push to dismantle the federal government and frustrated with the Democratic Party's response. Sanders and his fiery form of economic populism attacking the growing influence of billionaires and corporations in politics are not new, but interests in both message and messenger have been renewed by Trump's second term and the outsized role Elon Musk has played in cutting federal spending and pushing agencies to fire workers. So yeah, I don't think people realize this, but the person who's taking a complete axe to our government is the richest guy in the world. Like, I thought we were all against money in politics. This is the richest guy, and you can see a lot of the agencies he's targeting, and him and Trump both, Trump's also a billionaire, is stuff that is meant to rein in corporations and help the average American, see the National Labor Relations Board, see the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, see the FTC, and what Trump and Elon has done to all of those agencies respectfully. And from Bernie Sanders here, well, when I talked about oligarchy over the years, I think for some people it was an abstraction. Sanders said it in an interview with NPR. Now, though, people understand you have to be blind not to see what we have today is a government of the billionaires, by the billionaires, and for the billionaires. And you just look at his cabinet picks, look at their backgrounds, look at the people who were front and center at his administration. They were all billionaires and some of the richest people in this country. Like, it's insane. Jeff Bezos, the Google CEO, and just the Walmart CEO, I think. It's crazy the amount of wealth that was in that room for his inauguration. And I don't know how that doesn't click for more people. But the independent senator from Vermont said at the same time the Democratic Party has also turned its back on the American working class and suggested the party capitalize on this moment by championing policies that address things like income inequality, healthcare, and climate change. If they do that, I think working people will come back into the fold. He predicted, if not, I suspect the party will continue to decline. And that's absolutely true, as we're going to touch on here in a second, and that we've done videos on. The Democratic Party is at historic lows in approval ratings, and deservedly so. They don't stand for anything. Chuck Schumer doesn't stand for anything. Hakeem Jeffries doesn't stand for anything. They are just neoliberal centrists. Like, I can't stand these people, and they don't get the message. They just don't understand that they are the problem and the reason that the party is the way it is. And, deservedly so. It's crazy. And their strategy that they are openly saying, it's not even speculation, is we're just going to sit and watch and hope that the Republican Party, tanks their own approval ratings, and then we just step in and continue to do what we've been doing for the past 20 years, which is absolutely nothing. Anyways, so Friday, Sanders' communication director said more than 30,000 people showed up in Denver, Colorado to hear him speak, a larger crowd than any event during his two presidential runs. Over 30,000 people. Here's a picture. That's crazy. He's not even running for president right now. And he just had his biggest rally ever. If that doesn't show you like any sliver of hope and that a lot of the American people are waking up and looking to progressivism, then yeah, I mean, it's still dark times, but this is stuff you want to see. And remember, we're going to look at some research on what the American people want, no matter what party they're on, and you'll see how this movement from Bernie and AOC exactly captures that. And I don't even know if I want to go over this. I kind of already talked about it. So while a recent NPR PBS poll finds a majority of voters feel down about the state of the country and that Trump's agenda is being rushed without considering its impact, that displeasure also extends to the Democratic Party. An NBC News survey from last week finds the party's popularity at an all-time low, driven by dissatisfied Democrats who want their elected officials to actively counter Trump's agenda instead of trying to find compromise. And yeah, that's exactly right. They're not fighting. Like, the Republicans just keep kicking and kicking the Democrats, and they're just doing nothing about it. They're disciplining their own party more than the actual Republicans. Remember when Al Green walked down, anyone who supported him, they got lectured by Democratic leadership? Give me a break. It's crazy. This sentiment was on display at the Sanders rally in Arizona, where volunteer Clarissa Vela said Democrats need to stop biting their tongues and get loud to tell voters that what they plan to do about unpopular changes being pushed by Trump. So what is next? As larger and larger crowds attend Sanders events and more people call for a shakeup within the Democratic Party strategy, a recurring question has popped up. Why don't more Democrats sound like Bernie Sanders? For one, Sanders isn't a Democrat. Though he caucuses with them, Sanders has been in Congress for 3 decades and is arguably the best known progressive in Washington. Vermont's politics and demographics are also more friendly to Sanders' view than other battleground districts in the Trump era. While other elected Democrats might not be sounding the alarm using the same rhetoric as Sanders and Ocasio-Cortez, the rising backlash to Musk and Doge in particular has seen some in the party begin to adopt similar framing to go after Republicans. And I just want to be clear, like 90% of the current Democratic Party needs to go. They need to be primaried and replaced with actual progressives and people who actually have values. You can't believe your standard Democrat. Like if Hakeem Jeffries came out and said, yeah, I support single payer system. I mean, it's great that he's getting that messaging out, and that would be a good messaging, but I don't believe for a second that he would actually move to implement that. Same with 90% of the party. Earlier this week, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz spoke at an event in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, one of many places where Democrats have held town halls and GOP-represented districts where constituents have expressed anger at Musk-inspired cuts to the federal government. Walz took aim at Trump and Musk and implored Wisconsin voters to show up for a key state Supreme Court election April 1st. He also mentioned ways the party needs to step up and regain voter trust on key issues. We're going to have a conversation that Democrats, quite honestly, have skirted around, that America's healthcare system is still incredibly broken in a way that doesn't serve people, Walz said. It's incredibly frustrating. For his part, Sanders is not surprised. His longstanding message seems to be resonating with people across the ideological spectrum. Because again, Sanders isn't a Democrat. He works with them because he recognizes the pure evil of the Republican Party and he feels like he has no choice. But he's not a Democrat. He is for the working class. He is for the middle and lower class. It's as simple as that. That's why he's able to capture from people from both sides. And I have no evidence to back this up, no data to back this up, but I have a theory that a lot of Bernie bros ended up going to MAGA because they felt snubbed and abandoned by the Democratic Party when when Sanders got snubbed by Hillary, and especially in 2020 when he got snubbed by Biden and you had everyone dropped out and endorsed Biden. Elizabeth Warren conveniently stayed in and split the vote from Bernie, but they all coalesced around Biden, and that's how Biden was able to beat Bernie. Because if you remember, Bernie was like polling so favorably on Super Tuesday. Anyways, to the polls. This is from February 20th, 2025, and this is from the Pew Research. Top issues. The role of money in politics is number one. Guys, the whole tour that Bernie Sanders and AOC is doing is the Fight Oligarchy tour. They are fighting money in politics. That is their whole thing. Next, affordability in healthcare. That is another big Bernie Sanders issue. Free healthcare, a single payer system. Private healthcare insurance should not exist. There should not be a profit motive on your healthcare. Inflation. This just kind of goes together with all of their policies. So a big part of inflation is corporate greed. Go look during the height of COVID when inflation was at its worst. Go look at the profits that these corporations were still making while artificially jacking up prices, claiming it was relating to inflation when they are the ones that were actively creating it because there was such a hysteria about it, and they used that. Next, the federal budget deficit. This goes in a way where you got to acknowledge that tax cuts for the rich is devastating to the budget. It's how it's been for decades. You can look at all the data. You need to increase taxes on the rich. It's that simple. And you can prioritize tax cuts for the lower and middle class. That is how you tackle the federal budget deficit, along with taking a very careful eye to defense spending, revamping our healthcare system. We spend more on healthcare than any other country by a lot, and we don't guarantee it to all of our citizens, and it's way more expensive here. Why is that? Because of private health insurance and the profit motive. You get rid of that, you're already saving money there. So that's just a few of many, many ways their message can go into that. So the ability of Democrats and Republicans to work together, so as hostile as Bernie Sanders is, and so AOC does work with Republicans a lot. So in a sense, this is where you kind of get a little bit of a divide between progressives. It's, do you work on Republicans with certain issues, or have we just determined that it's a party you can't work with across the board? So that one's in the air. I would say Bernie Sanders and AOC will work with Republicans if it's an issue that, is aligns with their principles. So they are aligned with that as well, and that's 56% of Americans. Number of Americans living in poverty. A big thing about Sanders, along with free healthcare, is raising the federal minimum wage to a livable wage that would instantly bring so many people out of poverty. Drug addiction. So a big thing between, I'm just going to use Democrats in general and Republicans, is Democrats want to, at least the left-leaning progressive side, so Bernie, AOC, they want to legalize drugs and decriminalize drugs. And instead of treating these drug users like criminals like Republicans do, because they're very tough on the issue, they want to lock these people up. Democrats focus on getting these people help instead of criminalizing them, and that's a part of decriminalizing drugs. Next, the state of moral values. I don't know how, so everything I've said, I don't have to elaborate on this one. Gun violence, I'm surprised this one ranks that high. I don't know I know Bernie Sanders and AOC obviously believe in basic gun control and gun reform, but I think the main issue is addressing the root issues like healthcare, like poverty, and gun violence and overall crime in of itself will go down with it. Does that make sense? The way the U.S. political system operates, that's a big one that Bernie and them, they want to get money out of politics. They want the government to serve the people, not the 1%. Legal immigration, don't really know their stances on it. Obviously, they believe in protecting undocumented immigrants. I believe that too. If they aren't criminals and their only crime is coming here illegally, which isn't even a criminal offense, by the way, it's a civil offense. I don't see a reason to get rid of them. Now, I absolutely believe in a strong and secure border and that we shouldn't be bringing in hundreds of thousands, but the ones already here, all right. Anyways, the financial stability of Social Security and Medicare, we already know both AOC and Bernie's record and stance on that. Violent crime, like I said, addressing these root issues, wages, healthcare, this is how you lower crime across the board. Addressing the root issues. It's not increasing police punishment and penalty. That's not how you address crime. That you gotta get the root issues why people turn to crime and grow up in this like self-fulfilling like abyss. Let's see. Americans' level of agreement on the basic facts about issues and events. I say AOC and Bernie definitely fall in line with what the problems are with this country, not scapegoating to immigrants, trans people, whatever. Climate change, racism, international terrorism, domestic terrorism. So I don't understand how this doesn't resonate with more Republicans. Let's look at a couple clips here.
We are the vast majority of people. We can defeat Trumpism. We can create a political movement so that we have a government and economy that works for all of us, not just the 1%.
And here's one thing I will say. Donald Trump, he sees the immense pressure that working people are under. But his answer to that pressure is an America that operates on the principle of every man for himself. And we can see this clear as day. He has handed the keys of the federal government to Elon Musk. Selling off our country for parts to the richest people on the planet. And in exchange, those oligarchs will bankroll his campaigns and those of his allies. They scratch his back, he scratches theirs, and all of us are left behind.
And then some other people talk here, but I just wanted to focus mainly on AOC and Bernie. I think their message is going to continue resonating with more people, with especially your normie Republicans and your centrists, your independent voters. And that's why, even though there's no election right now, Bernie or AOC aren't running for president right now. They are breaking records with these rallies. That's insane. And again, pairing that what their main message is with the polling and research of what the American people care about the most, spot on. Recipe for success. Everyone should be on the lookout for any of their rallies, attend. Look out for any progressive politicians' rallies. There are more than Bernie and AOC. As far as your standard neoliberal Democrats, screw them. Don't show up to their rallies. Don't let them bait you into thinking that they are actually like gonna do something, because they're not. Their open strategy is to just sit and watch. Well, let's see how well that works out. So, question to my MAGA viewers: what is your actual problem with AOC and Bernie? What evidence do you have that they are corrupt? Is it something they've said? Is it something in their record? Is it certain donors? Is it some sort of allegation, something in their rhetoric? I don't understand. Do you not think we should guarantee healthcare to every American citizen? Do you think that we shouldn't tax the rich and focus our tax cuts on the middle and lower class? Do you think that someone who works full time should be in poverty and shouldn't be able to support themselves and have to work 2-3 jobs? Do you think that's okay? Like, tell me, what is the problem you have here? Like, please give me something. Is it a donor? Follow the money. Follow the money going to AOC. Follow the money going to Bernie. Follow the money going to Trump. Follow the money going to most Republicans and Democrats. This is about a progressive movement. So, what is your problem with them? Is it because Donald Trump, Elon Musk, or Fox News said they're bad? Or is there something that led you to that logical conclusion? Please turn on your brain and let me know. All right, long video, but thanks for watching if you made it this far, and I will see you in the next one. If you made it to this point in the video, I just want to give a special thank you. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button down below, and if you really enjoyed it, maybe consider hitting that subscribe button while you're down there. I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section. I will try to reply to any and all comments that I can. Until next time, watch that video on screen.